welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Richmond, Virginia to London, England. I am Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm not bad. It's quite a catchy intro we've got going there. I feel like you've practiced that one.
Yeah, just numerous times in the shower and in the car.
Yeah, just rolls off the tongue at this point.
Yeah.
Sounding good.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just walked in from uni. Quite a long day. And we put the clocks back this weekend. And so we all just rode home in the dark. That was a little bit depressing, but going to try and lighten the mood now with some intelligent football conversation.
Yeah, it's like the one.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's the 1 week, or I don't know how long it is until we now push our clocks back, but it's like just a couple of weeks where the games are an hour later here, and it feels very weird getting up and having a game at like 4 p.m. when our earliest games are normally at 7 a.m. So like football is such a breakfast sport here. Like it feels weird to not be drinking coffee.
That's the craziest concept to me. That is such a crazy concept. Like even our 12:30 lunchtime games feel early. It's like, oh, this is too early to be watching football. It just feels weird. Yeah, mostly it's an evening sport here, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when I go over there for games, it feels so weird to have like the day to do whatever I want with before the game. Like it makes no sense to me. Because here on a Saturday, it's like I've had about 6 Guinnesses by noon and my day is over. So I don't know what to do on a Saturday or Sunday when I'm in Manchester or wherever I am, because I've got the whole day ahead of me. It's just...
there's worse problems to have, really.
Yeah. All right, so before we hop into some rankings, I want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notifications on so that you get notified whenever we drop a new video. We are also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where every other week our full rankings episode will come out. So if you are somebody who prefers to listen to the audio version, then you can go find us. Just search the Rank and Report football show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll pop right up. All right, Charlie, I'm going to let you go first with your 6 to 10 rankings. How are you feeling about your rankings? It was a tough week for a lot of the big clubs in Europe.
I was feeling fairly confident that I've got a good group of teams. And then I've just seen your rankings, and now I'm feeling really good. So... So yeah, I'll just get into it and kind of talk. I'll do the report part, talk about what they've been doing for the last couple of weeks whilst we've been away. And yeah, so here's who I've got in 10th. In 10th, I've got Real Madrid, the mighty Real Madrid, who were near the top of my rankings a couple of weeks ago, but just a couple of results lately that you can't really look past. Obviously, they had the 3-1 win at Barcelona at the Nou Camp, which is their most recent result. That's the main reason they're still in my top 10, is because that is a huge win for them. And it was a fairly convincing win at the Nou Camp as well. Before that, they had a 1-0 loss at home to Cadiz, of all teams. And then they went and lost 3-2 to Shakhtar at home in the Champions League. So I really don't know what's going on at Madrid at the moment. It's a bit of a crazy time. But yeah, just that 3-1 win at Barca is just enough to keep them in my top 10 at the moment. Number 9, I've gone for PSG, who their 2 most recent results, they had a 4-0 win away at Nîmes and a 4-0 win at home to Dijon. That's 8-0 in their last 2 games for the mathematicians among us. That takes their tally to 6 wins in a row now. The only thing that's kind of keeping them so far down in my list is the fact that they got, I don't want to say outclassed, but they really did get outplayed by United in the week in the Champions League. But yeah, 6 league wins in a row. That's keeping them at 9th place. Also interesting is that Moise Kean, who's joined them on a bit of a weird transfer, he bagged 2 goals against Dijon, which is as many as he got in about 30 games for Everton. So PSG are there at 9th. We move up to 8th place, and we've got one of my favourite teams in Europe. It's Borussia Dortmund. They've kept winning since our last video without conceding a goal. In the league, at least, I think they got beaten by Lazio in Europe, which again is why they're they're kind of lower down on these rankings. They beat Hoffenheim 1-0 away, and then they beat Schalke 3-0 at home. But as you were saying last week, there's not really much glory in beating Schalke, quite possibly the worst team in Europe. And Jadon Sancho has come back to the side, and Haaland just keeps on scoring. So Borussia Dortmund are in there at 8th for me. Very exciting team. I'm so excited to keep watching them for the rest of the season. 7th, we've got a completely new entry to the top 10, and one which I didn't think I'd be talking about this season, and that is Real Sociedad. They've now won 3 in a row in the league, and very convincingly as well. The first game was a 3-0 win away at Real Betis, and then most recently a 4-1 win at home to Huesca. But they've got quite an excited team, buoyed by the likes of David Silva, who's come in this season. They've got a few young talents who are really exciting as well. But they're on a really good winning streak, and they're top of the league at the moment. So they're deservedly in there at 7th. And then finally in there at 6th. Bit of a wild card this week. I know me and Adam have discussed this already, but I've put Ajax in at 6th. And those who follow the kind of obscure leagues around Europe, or those that have a Twitter account that like football, will have seen that their most recent result was a 13-0 thrashing away at VVV Venlo, the mighty VVV Venlo, I might add. Venlo did go down to 10 men after 52 minutes, I think. But yeah, Lassina Traore, a 19-year-old, got 5 goals and 3 assists in that game. So congratulations, all the Dutchmen who've got him in their fantasy football team. And the result before that was a 5-0 thrashing of Heerenveen at home. They're top of the Eredivisie. They're absolutely flying under Erik ten Hag. So I had to get them in my team, and they're currently in there at 6th place. Adam, what do we reckon?
I mean, first of all, a 13-0 win is scary, but I don't know anything about VVV Venlo. Even though they've lost to Ajax 13-0, I feel like they may still end up finishing in a Champions League place in the Dutch league. I'm not really sure.
Hey, plenty of good players have come from the Dutch league. You should know that. Ronaldo, Luis Suarez.
They've come from there. They don't stay there is the issue. But no, I mean,
hey, you can only beat what's put in front of you.
Absolutely.
And they beat him 13-0.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It feels like maybe I'd play for VVV Venlo, but I watched those. I watched the highlights, and it was legitimately terrifying how bad VVV Venlo was. But
I completely agree.
But like you said, Ajax does have some gorgeous young talent that I'm sure will be spreading its wings and flying to some other big clubs in Europe in the next couple of years, and that will be exciting. But all right, I'll get into my 10 through 6, and like we said, we had a little bit of disagreements here, but that's the beauty of this show. All right, in at number 10, I have got Borussia Dortmund. They were an honorable mention for me last week, so they were unranked, and I like what they're doing in the league. They're catching form a bit, but the 3-1 loss to Lazio in the Champions League is why I don't really have them any higher. And in at number 9, I've got my one rogue team from kind of an outside league. I've got Benfica, who are sitting top of the Portuguese league right now. Through 5 league games, they've scored 15 and conceded only 3. They have a really, really entertaining strike partnership of Haris Seferovic and Darwin Nunez, as well as this German kid, Luca Waldschmidt. And the 3 of them have 9 of the 15 goals scored between them. And really with Benfica, the standard of opposition is why I don't have them any higher. But I urge people to go and watch their last couple of results because they're blowing teams away and they're very fun to watch. In at number 8, I have got last week's, or I guess 2 weeks ago's now, Golden Boys, Atalanta. It hurt me when Charlie had kicked them out after just a couple bad results, but they've stayed in at number 8 for me just because of what they've done in the past 12 months or so, and I'm giving them one last chance. If they lose one game before the next episode, they will be kicked straight to the curb, but I'm keeping them in, and like some other teams in here, they are on thin ice, but I've got Atalanta in at number 8. In at number 7, I have got Everton. On the previous episode, I had them in the same spot at 7. They had a 2-2 draw against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, a game where they probably should have lost on a last-minute winner that was ruled out. But they just had a recent pretty terrible game in a loss at Southampton. So just like Atalanta, because they were on such a roll, that's why I've kept them in. And just like Atalanta, they are on really thin ice and they're really close to being kicked straight out. But basically everybody in Europe lost a couple of games except for 3 or 4 teams in the last couple of weeks. So I've got Everton at number 7. And in at number 6, a bit higher than you, I've got Real Madrid. Last episode, I had them at number 2. Obviously, pretty awful defeat to newly promoted Cadiz and a COVID-depleted Shakhtar Donetsk at home in the Champions League. So obviously they have a bit of a problem getting motivated for the smaller teams, but the big win in Barcelona has kept them in the rankings for me. And basically everybody in my 6 through 10 is on thin ice, but I've got Real Madrid in at number 6. What are we thinking, Charlie?
Interesting. I've got a few bones to pick with this one. It's just, where do I start? I think it boils down to personal opinion. With Everton, I think the 2-0 loss at Southampton kind of burst the bubble for me. I thought they were looking really good. I still think they can be a good team, maybe a top 6 team in the Premier League this year. I still do think they can be that, but that was really not a promising performance. And basically, Hassan Hutel, the manager of Southampton, did a real good job on Everton that game. With Atalanta, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to respond. Go for it.
Well, like I said, basically everybody in my 6 through 10 is just kind of in there with a little bit of hope that they will respond well to some recent bad results. I mean, there was just basically everybody, we were talking about this during the week, basically everybody except for first and second place in just about every league lost over the weekend. So somebody was going to have to be in here that had some bad results recently, at least for me. I didn't want to just kick people out. I'm going to give them a little bit of a chance to respond, but I don't know. They were awful at the St. Mary's, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. They've got Newcastle and they've got Manchester United in 2 weeks' time. So I think that's going to be a big, big test. And if they can come out of that with 2 big wins, then I think they will have backed up my feelings of keeping them in here.
Yeah. And then the others, Atalanta, it's kind of hurt me a bit. I'm making us look bad by having them out of my top 10 because we both had them at number 1 last week, and then we released a video saying Atalanta are the real deal or something like that. And then they proceeded to get thumped twice. I think it was like 4-1, and I've got the result. What were the results? It was 4-1 and 3-1, something like that.
4-1 against Napoli, and it could have been far worse.
Yeah. So, I've got them at 11th. I really did want to keep them in there, but in my view, just in my 6 through to 10, there's a couple of teams in there like Ajax and Sociedad who I think kind of deserve to be in there. No shots fired, because you haven't got them in there, but they're both top of their respective leagues. And basically, at this early stage in the season, I think probably the 1 to 10 power rankings is going to change quite a lot because we're learning at such a rapid rate at this early stage. But I appreciate you're trying to make us look good by keeping some of last week's teams in there.
Well, I do have Sociedad still yet to come, so I haven't just thrown them out. I mean,
okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I've still got them to come. So hold your horses. Obviously, I just think a bit higher than you do. So,
I just jumped the gun there, didn't I?
Yeah,
big time.
Well, why don't we start there? Why don't we get into our 5 through 1 so we can stop talking about ifs, ands, and buts.
Okay, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so at number 5, I've got the hugely impressive Napoli, managed by Gennaro Gattuso. These lot are new entrants into my 10 as well. They weren't there last time. But 4 wins in a row in the league, including a 4-1 win at our Golden Boys, Atalanta, and then a 2-1 away win at Benevento. And to be honest, I look at their starting 11 and they're looking like a really complete team at the moment. I think I'm not going to get too deep into it, but Osimhen up front has freed up the likes of Insigne, Mertens and Lozano to operate in behind him in their preferred roles. And they're looking like a really, really good team at the moment. And they're in great form. The only thing putting a slight dampener on it is their loss to AZ Alkmaar at home, which I think was in the Europa League in the week. But their league form has been tremendous, so they're there at number 5. Number 4, I have got my only Premier League entrant in this week's 10. No spoilers. Well, I did just spoil it, but they're my only Premier League entrant, and it's Liverpool. So they've moved quite a few places up the rankings in the last couple of weeks. The last 2 games, there was a 2-2 draw away at Everton, which is a decent result, especially considering the form that they were in. And then they grafted out a 2-1 win over Sheffield United at home. And they beat Ajax away in the Champions League. So they're not in bad form by any means. They're definitely not the team they were last season. And obviously the injury to Virgil van Dijk is absolutely devastating for them. But they're still showing glimpses that they're close to their top level, and their form of late has been decent. So they're still a powerhouse. They're still there at number 4 for me. Number 3, a new entrant flying all the way up the rankings is AC Milan. We just couldn't ignore them, really. Before last night, they drew 2-2 at Roma, or maybe it was at home to Roma. Either way, they drew 2-2 to Roma last night. Before that, they'd won 4 in a row. They were top of Serie A with a game in hand. Obviously, they're still top of Serie A now. And they're just in great form, managed by Stefano Pioli. The ancient 38-year-old Ibrahimovic is still popping up with goals, using his little hustle, his 38 years of experience in life to somehow keep banging in the goals for them. But yeah, their last 2 games before the Roma, there was a 3-0 win at home to Spezia and a 2-1 win in the Milan derby over Inter Milan, which is a huge win. So they're there at number 3. They're in great form.
Zlatan just had a birthday this month. He's actually 39 now, to make it even better.
What? No way. See, that proves me wrong, but that also makes it even more shocking.
Yeah.
So fair play to Zlatan, still coming up with the goods at that big age. He could probably just keep going until he's about 45 at this rate.
Yeah.
Number 2, we've got, again, our Golden Boys, RB Leipzig. They've kept winning since our last video where we hyped them up big time, so I can't move them down the list. They're in number 2. They beat Augsburg away 2-0, and they beat Hertha Berlin 2-1 at home, and they beat Istanbul Başakşehir in the Champions League. They keep winning. Nagelsmann is the man. Please come to City when Pep leaves. And that's it. Leipzig are number 2. And number 1, returning to their rightful place at the top of Europe, in my eyes, is Bayern Munich. They've been in unbelievable form since they got thrashed 4-1 by Hoffenheim. They've been in great form. There was a 4-1 win away at Armania. I don't know. Armania Bielefeld.
Spot on. Bielefeld.
Yes, come on. What are the odds on that?
You English, anyway, man. You English just don't even try to pronounce stuff in the native tongue, but that was perfect.
Okay, good. And then there was a 5-0 win at home to Frankfurt, where Lewandowski continued his unbelievable form, got another hat-trick. He's got 10 for the season already. And he's scoring at a rate of 2 goals per 90, which is stupendous. So Bayern Munich absolutely flying again after that one blip to Hoffenheim. And there was not really much doubt in my mind that they were going to be top of my list this week. And that makes it 2 German teams at the top as well. So good times for German football.
Absolutely. Real quick, Charlie, because we do have some audio-only listeners, why don't you just give us your 10-1, because they don't have the visual in front of them. So just give them a little reminder on what your 10-1 is.
That's a good idea. Right. So just quickly, number 10, we've got Real Madrid. Number 9, PSG. Number 8, Borussia Dortmund. Number 7, Real Sociedad. Number 6, Ajax, the mighty. Number 5, Napoli. Number 4, Liverpool. Number 3, AC Milan. Number 2, Leipzig. And number 1, Bayern Munich. That's my 10.
All right. Before we get into any discussions, I'll just run through my 5 to 1. We've actually got a lot of similarities here. A couple differences, but a lot of similarities. All right. In at number 5, I have got Liverpool. Like Charlie said, since the devastating injury to Virgil van Dijk, they've won both of their games away at Ajax in the Champions League and at home against Sheffield United. So I've got them in at 5. In at number 4, I've got Real Sociedad, who are top of La Liga and a ton of fun to watch. That attacking force of Porto, David Silva, Isak, Willian Jose, Oyarzabal. They're just a ton of fun to watch, and watching that team counterattack is a thing of beauty. So if you haven't had a chance to watch Sociedad play, I highly suggest it. In at number 3, I have got AC Milan. Just like everything Charlie just said, they're top of I almost said La Liga, top of Serie A. And Zlatan at 39 years old is banging in goals still. We're going to talk about them a little bit more in a bit. In at number 2, I've got RB Leipzig. Just keep on rolling. Nagelsmann has his team just firing on all cylinders, and seems like anybody that comes in their way, they just kind of swat aside. So it'll be very interesting to see RB Leipzig coming up against some of the big teams in Germany like Dortmund and Bayern Munich. And then in at number 1, the best team in Europe and probably the world, Bayern Munich, just blowing opposition aside. 4-0 win at home against Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. And it is difficult to rip apart a Simeone team, but they did it with ease. And then obviously the 4-1 win against Bielefeld and a 5-0 win versus Frankfurt. Lewandowski is just on a tear, which is normal for him, and they're in great form. And yeah, I've got Bayern Munich in at number 1. All right, before we discuss, I will, just for our audio listeners, run through my 10 to 1. At number 10, Borussia Dortmund. Number 9, Benfica. Number 8, Atalanta. 7, Everton. 6, Real Madrid. 5, Liverpool. 4, Real Sociedad. 3, AC Milan. 2, RB Leipzig. And 1, Bayern Munich. How are we feeling about those, Charlie?
Lovely stuff. Well, yeah, we were pretty similar there in the top 5, so I've not got too many complaints, really. I agree with you. Bayern is just a no-brainer. I think, yeah, just a quick word on them, because I don't think we're going to go into too much depth on them. They're absolutely crazy. And then the one thing I really noted about Bayern is, I think their previous game against Frankfurt, they started with Douglas Costa and Kingsley Coman on the wings. They're their reserve wingers. They're their third and fourth choice wingers. I think almost every club in the world would have them as their first choice wingers. Like in the wings, they've got waiting Serge Gnabry, who is in crazy form, and he's proved himself as a world-class winger that just really loves to score goals in the last year or so, and Leroy Sané, who we as City fans know very well, and he kind of touched the hearts of everyone in the Premier League because he's so good to watch. So, you know, just if to pinpoint one thing, if that is their reserve wingers, their squad depth is a joke. So, you know, I'm sure this isn't going to be their only week at number 1.
Yeah, this is the team that I kind of predicted in the first episode that they'll be at number 1 the most. But yeah, they're unbelievable to watch, and like you said, that the depth is incredible. Midfield depth. I think somebody that's extremely underrated is Joshua Kimmich. I mean, he is so much fun to watch. This is a guy that has played now basically 3 different positions for Bayern. He's played down the wing on the right-hand side at times. He's played right back. And when Pep Guardiola was there, he kind of turned him into a central midfielder. And the guy can play passes that most other players in Europe cannot play. So, yeah, the depth is unbelievable. And they're a scary team at the moment.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we hop into a little discussion about AC Milan, who we've both got in at number 3. And I don't know, I'm really excited about this team. I think we've got to start in one place and one place only, and that is 39-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic leading the line for the Serie A leading AC Milan, and the guy just won't slow down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like he went to the MLS, to LA Galaxy. Maybe even he was presuming that was going to be the way that his career was going to wind down. No respect to the MLS. Obviously, we've got an American in the chat right now. But that is what the majority of players, at least in the past, have done. They've gone there to kind of wind their careers down. But he was scoring goals at such a crazy rate for LA Galaxy that he thought, oh, maybe I'll just have another crack at the European leagues. And since he's come back to Milan, he's just been a massive success. I can't think of many other 39-year-old strikers that have played at such a high level in recent memory. But maybe you can help me out, but I really can't think of one. He's got 5 goals already this season. And I think the main thing about him is he's got no pace, as I don't think any 39-year-old in the world has got any pace. But he uses his strength, his dribbling ability, and his experience to cause teams problems, and it shows with I think it was in the Milan derby, he was really clever to kind of go through on goal. He knew he wasn't going to outpace his defender, so he just kind of dribbled around him and won a penalty. And that's the kind of way that his game's got to evolve, and he's a clever enough player to do it, and a talented enough one as well.
Yeah, well, so backing up on 39-year-old strikers, the only one that comes to mind, and this is actually another player in Serie A, was Antonio Di Natale, who played at Udinese until he was 39. I don't know how many goals he scored in the last season when he was 39, but I mean, he scored 191 for them in about 12 years there, and he didn't retire until he was 39. So maybe it's something about Serie A. You can play a bit longer.
No, I'm telling you.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, yeah. Totti played until he was about 40 as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
and he was decent right up until the end.
Same with who's the other guy that played in midfield with him? Daniele De Rossi. He played for quite a long time till he was at least like 35. So yeah. But back on the Zlatan. I mean, like you said, he went to MLS, and I remember one of his first games, if not his first game, was in the LA derby, that El Tráfico against LAFC. And you laugh, but that's actually what they call it. Yeah, don't even get me started on MLS. I love watching MLS. It's extremely fun to watch, and I love the club that I support, but I'm not even gonna open up that can of worms right now. But yeah, I mean, his first game, he comes in, they're down 2-1, and he scores a brace in like 30 minutes, and they win the game 3-2, including one of those 2 goals was from like midfield on the half volley, and they caught.
Oh yeah, I remember. That was a crazy goal,
just unreal. But look, I mean, he comes back to AC Milan, and in 2020, he's got 18 goals and 5 assists. Like we said, he's just not slowing down. And one thing that is really exciting to me is I watched that game against Roma yesterday, and our coverage of Serie A here in the States has no fake crowd noise, and you could hear him just barking instructions at Rafael Leao the whole game. And Leao's a guy I want to come on to later. I think he's an extremely exciting young talent. But Zlatan is so often perceived as this like crazy, selfish, conceited kind of guy. But if you watch that game and listen, he was constantly telling Leao where to be. And, I just love the leadership from him, because a guy with that personality can be a great leader if he puts that personality and that energy towards leading. So it's just unbelievable to see him still doing this.
Yeah, they need a leader as well. Looking at their 11, it's a fairly young side, or it's not a side that's got a lot of experience at the top of the game anyway. Not, these lot haven't been appearing in Champions League finals. There's good players, the likes of Çalhanoğlu, Frank Kessié, Theo Hernandez, Donnarumma. All these lot have got a lot of admirers around Europe as extremely talented players, but none of them, because they've spent their years with AC Milan, who've underperformed because they've been going through kind of a difficult transition period. None of these guys have actually played at a really top level, as in towards the top of Serie A or deep runs in Europe, that kind of thing. Zlatan is the main guy who's done that, and he is kind of a genius move to bring him back in. He's the one that can pull that group through to those kind of heights, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more just crazy stat on Zlatan. In every Serie A not performance, in every Serie A appearance this season, he's got a brace. So every time the guy takes the field in the league, he scores 2 goals, which is just unbelievable. You know, it's not like the guy is just coming in and scoring in garbage time. Like the guy is playing full games and leading everything. So, but yeah, moving on from Zlatan, if you look at the rest of this team, like you said, there is a lot of good players there, and there is actually a bit of depth, especially in attack. You know, you've got the likes of Samu Castillejo, Rafael Leao, Çalhanoğlu, Ante Rebic competing for that left wing spot with Rafael Leao. So it's not like we're necessarily looking at Zlatan going down or, you know, his legs giving out, whatever, and everything just capitulates. I think this team has enough to take a couple of blows and still be up competing. I think the one spot where it would be a weakness is in goal, and we saw that at the weekend or last night where Donnarumma was out because he tested positive for COVID, and his replacement had a bit of a rough game, and that first Roma goal was definitely a howler on his part. So, but the depth is there.
Right. Yeah. No, the depth is definitely there. Like you said, Rebic, I remember him from the World Cup, I think, the 2018 World Cup, and he was really impressive. Kind of a menace to deal with. I think he likes playing off the wing, but I know he can play up front as well. And I think he scored a fair few goals last season for Milan, if I'm right. But he's just big, strong, quick, and he's just a bit of a, I don't want to use a bad word, but let's say a handful. Let's say he's a handful to play against. And that's always useful to have, you know. If you come up against a team that you think these lot could use a bit of roughing up at the back, throw Rebic on. He's going to do a job for you. And also another option in attack, on the wings anyway, is Brahim Diaz, who me and Adam know moderately well. He played a few games for us, for Man City. And to be fair, I've got to say, I was actually a fan of him. I thought he had a lot of ability when I saw him play. I was a little bit annoyed that we'd sold him to Real. But having said that, he's getting older. His career at Real never took off, so they've sent him on loan to Milan. But he's bagged a couple of goals already, and he's obviously a lot closer to the first team than he was at City or Real. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I don't know, what do you remember of him when he was at City?
Yeah, I mean, like any youth product at City, it's tough for people to really break into the team. But no, he's really, really good on the ball. He's really quick, and the way he can shift the ball around is really fun to watch. And I watched a couple of Milan's friendlies actually this summer, or I guess summer, fall, whatever, to see him play, and he looked really, really good. And what is he, 21 now, I think? So, you know, he's
something like that.
He's coming into his own, and I think in the next couple of years he'll really break into the team and be a real breakout star. And if you look at the other young talent around him there's a lot to be excited about in the future for Milan fans. You know, you look at this Belgian Salamakers, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't even...
Sounds about right, yeah.
You know, this guy that came out of nowhere, and now he's kind of a shoo-in for every starting 11. So playing out on the right, and, you know, he's beating out the likes of Castillejo to get into that spot. So, yeah, I mean, Diaz, Castillejo, all these guys it's a great rotation to have in there. And like you were saying with Rebic, everybody kind of brings something a little bit different. It's not just like for like swaps when one's playing over the other. So how are you feeling about them being able to mount a title push? Is this sustainable, this start to the season, or is it just red hot Zlatan, or what are you thinking?
It's hard to say because Serie A is actually really competitive all of a sudden. After years of it just being Juve, miles ahead at the top. All of a sudden, you've got a few really good teams. Obviously, Atalanta started the season really well, and I wouldn't write them off just yet. It'll be hard for them to mount a title charge, Atalanta, but I wouldn't write them off. Lazio are a good side. We saw them beat Dortmund in the Champions League. Napoli are a great side in great form. Juve are Juve. We all know about them. So even the prospects are Milan could have a great season and still finish in 5th or 6th. And that's just harsh. That's just the way that Serie A is going. But that's good for the league. It's kind of the way the Premier League is. It's almost like a big 6. And that's something the Serie A has not had in the last few years. So it's going to be a dogged fight. Milan amongst those really good teams, they're going to have to earn it. If they're going to finish 3rd, 2nd, 1st up there, they're really going to have to earn it. And I wouldn't back them to finish 1st or 2nd personally. I wouldn't back them, but you never know. You never know. Like we said, they're a team that's growing into themselves. The manager, Stefano Pioli, he's growing into the role. He's fairly new to it. And he's been given a 2-year contract extension, so he's going to have the chance to kind of make his mark on the team on a permanent basis. So who knows, really? Who knows? What do you think on that?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I completely agree. The league is far more competitive than it has been in years past. But the biggest thing is that there's nobody that's really standing out from the rest. Juve have dropped points again at the weekend, a game that they should have won at home to Verona. And like you said, there's a lot of tough teams. Inter Milan, when they catch form, they're a really tough team to beat. Lazio, Napoli could be a team that's up there vying for 2nd, 3rd, maybe even 1st. So I think a big positive for them is that there's nobody that's just miles ahead of the rest. And so you're going to have a lot of teams that can drop a few games and not really fall too far behind, because nobody is going to be mounting 10, 11, 12 game winning streaks, it's looking like. So I think in that sense, that's a positive. But like you said, this team definitely isn't the complete package yet. They're still kind of finding themselves and finding out what this team is really all about. But I'm excited to see where they go from here. And it should be, I think top 4 is probably the ultimate goal, and anything from there is a bonus.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so moving on from AC Milan, one more club I want to talk about before we get into just kind of some free discussions and talk about our honorable mentions is Real Madrid. So I've got them in at number 6. You've got them in at number 10, just scraping into the top 10. So, like I said, I with my rankings, basically my 6 through 10 was just hoping in not a random order, but hoping that these teams will just respond to a patch of rough results. So I think with Madrid, my biggest problem is that they can't seem to get up for the lesser teams like Cadiz, like Shakhtar. I don't know if it's necessarily a complacency issue, if it's a motivational issue. I think those kind of go hand in hand. But what's your feeling? I mean, this is a team that obviously won La Liga last year, kind of crapped out in the Champions League to City, and a couple of big mistakes in that second leg is what had them knocked out in the end. But I don't know, this team confuses me, because when they play well, they can play really well. When Toni Kroos wants to be on his game and Luka Modric wants to be on his game, then they can bully some teams, but that seems to only happen once every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the one thing you'd say about them is they've still got a lot of quality, even though, I think if you to sum it up in one headline, they've got a lot of quality, but none of them are really lighting up the world stage at this present moment. Like you'd say, Inter Milan are a team with a lot of quality, and they've got Lukaku, who's absolutely killing it. Like Madrid don't have that person, in my opinion, at the moment. But they've got a lot of senior players, and when you look at their bench, I've got a little thing in my notes where I look at their starting 11, and then I make a note of who's been left on the bench, and it's pretty crazy, to be honest. So on the bench for the El Clasico, was Eder Militao, Luka Modric, Luka Jovic, Isco, and Rodrigo. So that is 5 players who would be in the 11s for almost every team and would definitely be getting on the pitch, from the bench from every team. So they've got a lot of quality, but yeah, like I said, no one is really smashing it at the moment. The closest player to that would be either Sergio Ramos, who is still in really good form, like he's kind of continuing to grow as a player as he goes into the latter years of his career, and obviously Vinicius Junior, who has been their standout performer so far this season. He's got 3 goals already, so he's their top scorer. He's really talented. He's also great to watch, and he can cause any team's problems. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone really catching the eye on a consistent basis of late.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. The biggest issue is just world-class players underperforming. Karim Benzema last year was immense for this team, and so far he's been basically irrelevant for most of the season. There's other guys like Fede Valverde, who is a shadow of his former self so far this season. Obviously, he scored a very good goal in El Clasico, but that's just one moment from a season where he's been pretty bad. But I think one place we have to look when we're talking about world-class talent is Edin Hazard, and the fact that he's basically done nothing since coming to Madrid for, I think it was 120 million euros. Obviously there's been some injuries, but first of all, I can't say I necessarily agree with their decision to buy him. I think he's very much a luxury player, and he's the kind of guy that on his day can win a game single-handedly, but that's not every day. So it looks like he's coming back from injury this week, and he's going to be traveling with the team. I don't know if he'll make an appearance, but he's traveling with the team for the Champions League game against Borussia Mönchengladbach. But, it's a player like that could come in and catch form and really take this team to another level. But we're just waiting for these world-class players to step up to the level that we know that they have.
Yeah, I would not write Hazard off yet. As an avid watcher of the Premier League for many, many years, Hazard was regarded as probably the very best until Kevin De Bruyne hit his top form, which he's still currently in. So Hazard, like you say, on his day, he's absolutely unbelievable, but he's done it over his, 5 or 6 years in the Premier League. He showed it consistently enough that he wasn't just a player who could turn up every now and again. He was the man. And his ability is crazy. He was a huge player for that Chelsea team, and like you say, if he does kind of kick into gear for Madrid, it's a complete game changer. It's a complete game changer because he is a player of the highest quality, and I think he's been unlucky with injuries since he got to Madrid. Really unlucky with injuries, and maybe he's just one of those who takes a little while to warm up and get back into the swing of things after injury. I've got to say, if he does go back in the next week or so, he's kind of going into the lion's den, because you don't know what you're going to get in. You don't know what you get into with Madrid recently. Like their recent results are crazy. Mm-hmm. Losing to Shakhtar and Cadiz and then winning away at the Nou Camp. What the heck is going on? So it's not the easiest environment for Hazard to go back into, but I wouldn't write him off just yet. I know 100% that they've not seen anywhere near the best of him. So they should still be excited, Madrid fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not totally sold on him. I agree with you that in his time in the Premier League, he was incredible, but there was times where 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, he would completely go missing. Whether or not that was a personal issue or an issue at Chelsea is another conversation. But when he's not good, he's completely irrelevant. He's not somebody that provides something else if the goal scoring and the playmaking is not there. But it'll be interesting to see if he can catch some sort of form. But I mean, you look at the future matches for Real Madrid, and they are going into a really tough spell. So they've got at time of recording, 1 hour until they play Borussia Mönchengladbach. And then they've got Huesca, which is a game they should win. But then they're going to play Inter Milan, Valencia, Villarreal, Inter Milan again, Alaves, Shakhtar, Sevilla, Mönchengladbach again, and then Atletico Madrid. I mean,
Oh my
we're
word!
we're talking
Yeah,
season making or season breaking spell of games here, I think. So they've got a bit of an injury issue right now. They essentially don't have a right back. Both Carvajal and Nacho have gone down with injuries. And it looks like they're going to be playing Ferland Mendy out at right back and playing Marcelo in at left back, who I think is just not a defender. And if you can target that left side of the Madrid defense, then it's very easy to get at them. So I don't know. It's season making or season breaking time in the next 4-5 weeks for them.
yeah, or confidence making or confidence breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, they could emerge from that period as a broken team. you
Yeah.
know, so some will probably say, they wouldn't be surprised if Zidane emerges from that spell without a job, or he gets through that spell and with saying Zidane is the man, they're going to win. They're going to win the UCL again. So we're going to learn a lot about Madrid in the coming weeks, definitely, and the young and experienced players they've got, and what the older players can still bring to the table, and what the young players have got against really tough opposition. We're going to learn loads in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to just get your opinion on Zidane as a manager, because he's in this really tough spot in Madrid where when they win, it's because he's let them run out there and play and he's a great man manager and all that. And then when they lose, it's because he just let them run out there and play and had no game plan. So I get all of the criticism of him coming into a team with Gareth Bale, Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these guys, and winning a bunch of Champions Leagues. But do you think that he is a man manager of talent, or is there something that he provides to get them to where they are? I mean, what? Just give me your overall thoughts on Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky because I think what people want to see from a coach is they need to be a revolutionary. That's the in thing at the moment. Guardiola comes into Man City and it's like, whoa, look at this style of football we're playing. It's so innovative. It's so good to watch. And so if a manager doesn't really develop an identity like that, I think people are quick to pounce on them. But the major thing that Zidane has got is 3 Champions Leagues in a row. No one's ever going to take that away from him, and it's going to be very difficult to match as well. So, yeah, when it goes down in the history books, it'll probably go down as a major success, because that you can't ignore those 3 Champions Leagues in a row. But at present, I'm not totally sold on him, and I am of the this could be really unpopular. But I've always been of the thinking that knockout competitions, even though the Champions League is a longer competition, you've got groups, games over 2 legs and stuff like that. Knockout competitions shouldn't make or break a manager. Any team can have a good run and just win a sequence of games, or they might have had a really easy run to get to the final, that kind of thing. So I'm never one to judge managers just purely on trophies. And I've never been totally taken with Zidane because of that lack of identity. But you can't take away what he's done at the end of the day. You can't take away what he's done. And he's got a team with a lot of stars. And maybe when you've got that at your disposal, you need someone of the stature of Zidane, someone you're in awe of, complete legend, to kind of manage all those players. I can't think of a player on earth who wouldn't be bowing down to Zidane, so that's my opinion on him.
Yeah, I mean that's a really big thing to bring up, is just the respect that he commands just when he walks into the dressing room. And this is the first manager really to come in to a dressing room that was dominated by Cristiano Ronaldo and really take control of it. And I remember there was times where he would bench Ronaldo for, a cup game against Getafe or whatever, some sort of meaningless fixture where guys like Messi, guys like Ronaldo, they want to be playing 90 minutes of every single game. Doesn't matter the opponent, doesn't matter the competition. And Zidane was the guy to come in there and really find a way to basically tame Ronaldo. And I think that was a big, big part of them winning 3 Champions Leagues, because he's so, like you said, he just commands so much respect, and everybody just kind of bows down to him, and nobody would necessarily argue with him. So in that sense, he's kind of perfect for Real Madrid because of the personalities and the egos that come with a Real Madrid dressing room. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can get through this really tricky period of games and come out on the other end better or for worse, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so I think in the interest of time, why don't we get a couple honorable mentions in there? So who was it that maybe you had in 11th, 12th, 13th, somebody that couldn't break in but is just kind of knocking on the door of the top 10?
Well, so in 11th, I didn't do them in order, but I will, for these guys, I'll put them in 11th. It was Atalanta. Kind of painful seeing them slide off my list, but 4-1 loss to Napoli away, 3-1 loss to Sampdoria at home. It's hard to put them in it, after those. That's a 7-2 loss on aggregate over 2 games. And they're down in 6th in Serie A all of a sudden. So it's gone from very rosy to very bleak for Atalanta. Elsewhere, I've gone for Lille, who are flying in Ligue 1. I know you absolutely despise French football.
Whoa, that's a little harsh to say.
I mean, that's definitely the impression I've got from these first couple of episodes anyway. So they're in second. They sold Osimhen to Napoli for big money, and they actually replaced him with a guy called Burak Yilmaz from the Turkish league. They got him on a free transfer, and to be fair, he's been banging in the goals. He's got 4 goals already this season. Last 2 results were a 4-0 win at home to Lens, and then a 1-1 draw away at Nice, which is a very tricky place to go. So basically, in essence, what they've proved is they are one of the best teams in Ligue 1 at the moment. They can properly hang with the big boys. And they've got some good talent in their squad as well. So they nearly made my top 10, but they're just outside this week. And finally, just wanted to touch on Benfica, who you already touched on. Interesting squad. Like you said, Waldschmidt, great name. Already got 4 goals this season. The reason I didn't put them in, because they've won all their league games, 5 out of 5, and they beat Poznan away, Lech Poznan that is, in the Europa League, is because the standard of teams that they're playing is really, they haven't played anyone decent in the Portuguese league so far. But they've got an interesting team. I think the most interesting thing that stands out is Adel Taarabt playing as a converted centre mid. Never thought I'd see the day, but he's a fantastic talent, and he's definitely got one of the best YouTube compilations to ever exist. So go and check that out if you've not seen it before.
Former QPR guy that just scored wonder goals left and right?
Yeah, he used to play. He started his career at Tottenham, and Harry Redknapp basically always acknowledged his talent, but he was just an absolutely terrible. He had a really bad attitude and didn't work hard and stuff like that. But whenever he got onto the pitch, it was like FIFA Street. I don't know if you ever had that game. Yeah. He just did whatever he wanted. If he wanted to nutmeg you, he will do it. It doesn't matter if he's in his own 6-yard box. He will do something ridiculous and put it through your legs. So he's a great player to watch. And it seems like he's had a bit of a renaissance at Benfica by the looks of it.
Yeah, well, I almost like, my thinking going into these rankings was basically because everybody is losing games at the moment. My thinking was, if you're not losing and you're in a somewhat major European league, you're getting in my top 10. As simple as that.
Yeah. Apart from Ajax.
Oh, they lost in the Champions League. So,
okay.
I mean,
to Liverpool though.
I know,
they kept it tight. That was one of the main reasons I kind of kept. It validated me putting them in there because they kept it pretty tight against Liverpool. A 1-0 loss is not too devastating, really.
I will say that Ajax was really knocking on the door to possibly be the other rogue team other than Benfica. But for whatever reason, Benfica gives me funny feelings in my tummy when I watch them play. So
Oh, okay, right.
they,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, they had to get in my top 10. But my honorable mentions, kind of weird one because I was so high on them last week, and you've actually got them in at number 5, and I don't have them in at all. That's Napoli. Um,
Mm.
I love this team, but I need one more game. They've actually got Real Sociedad this week in the Europa League. That is going to be a huge game. That's on Thursday. So that is what, second in Serie A against first in La Liga. So that's going to be a huge test for them. I love Victor Osimhen. Like you said, his presence has unlocked the likes of Insigne and Dries Mertens, and to be able to be a bit more creative instead of just having all the goal scoring onus on them. So, and obviously Koulibaly's still in there at the back with Manolas. It's a really solid defensive pairing. So Napoli is definitely an honorable mention, and they're really one win away from breaking into the top 10 for me.
Yeah, and also, sorry, quickly, I think Osimhen got his first goal in the last
Yeah,
game. Let me see who they play against. Atalanta, I think it was actually. So not the last game, but he got his first goal against Atalanta. It was a really good goal, and the whole team was buzzing that he scored. So he's obviously gone down well in the dressing room.
yeah.
And someone that you didn't mention that he's unlocked is Hirving Lozano, who you've got some weird irrational hatred for. But he's their
It's
top
not
scorer.
irrational. That is our Mexico is our huge rival in international football.
Right,
I actually
okay.
meant to mention him, and I didn't purposely leave him out. But
No. But he's outscoring Mertens and Insigne at the moment. So, and he scored 2 really good goals against Atalanta as well.
yeah, right. I think I had one more honorable mention.
Sorry, did I throw you off course there?
Oh, that's all right. I should have written it down. But I can't remember who it was. But yeah, Napoli and Ajax were my 2 big honorable mentions, and I think with Ajax, if they can beat somebody big in Europe, I'll throw them in. But the fact that they've won their last 2 games by a score of like 18-0 just goes to show the standard of opposition in the Dutch league, and that's the only reason I don't have them in there. But they are
But
knocking on that door.
yeah, I think Ajax are playing Atalanta tonight.
Are they?
I'm almost certain. I believe so. They're in the group with Liverpool and Midtjylland and Atalanta, and Liverpool v Midtjylland this evening. So that'll be a very good one to watch.
Absolutely.
Obviously, by the time this goes out, the game will have been and gone. So ignore what I've just said. But we'll be keeping an eye on it.
And I think one more team to mention, just to humor you and I, is Manchester City. I think if they had beaten West Ham at the weekend, they would have snuck in with 3 straight wins. But for whatever reason,
Ifs and buts.
Yeah.
I think, what are we, 13th in the table? I can't mention us in this video with a straight face, unfortunately. Pep's got some sorting out to do. I'll just leave it at that.
The only reason I've mentioned them is because so the way that I've been doing my rankings this week, because there's such a big gap, is I basically made a top 10 and put an asterisk next to everybody. And that asterisk is if they win. And then if they don't win, I chuck them out and I find something else. So City were in my top 10 with many asterisks next to them. But yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's just about time to wrap up this week's episode. Some big Champions League games today. And like I said, Napoli Sociedad is the game to watch on Thursday. So this will be out by Thursday. So definitely watch that if you can. And before we sign off, please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we drop a new video. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, hit the subscription button, leave a review, leave a rating, send it to your mom, send it to your dad, whatever you got to do. Pass the show around. That is the best way to get our words out. If you like what we're doing and want other people to see, then send it to them. And if you're on Spotify, then hit that follow button. All right, Charlie, any last words for the people?
Yeah, no, I'll just add to that. Follow me on Twitter as well if you like some football opinions, some football content. I retweet good stuff.
Where, Charlie,
It's
where
at
can...
Guapo Football.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
at GUAPO Football. Find me there. There's a lovely little picture of me and a chihuahua on my shoulder. That'll welcome you, and you'll feel right at home. So come and give me a follow.
And you can follow me at abooker17, and you can follow us at rank_report. All right, I believe that is it for today, and we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. See ya.
See ya.